Love. Some would say it took a backseat when the pandemic forced us apart. As a family-run and proudly Canadian-owned company, Charm Diamond Centers saw the need to bring us together with tales of love and created the Canadian Love Map podcast. Since then, we've shared hundreds of real, uplifting stories that prove love conquers all. So thank you for listening. We couldn't do it without you. And remember, love starts here.
I didn't know you could be loved like this deeply. I had never thought that was possible. And it's something that I think about pretty often and that I'm so grateful for, like just the depth of that love. It's always there, no matter what.
Hi, I'm Nancy Regan. Welcome back to the Canadian Love Map. This week's episode belongs to Kelsey and Taylor, both of whom once believed they were unlucky in love. That all changed when this unlikely couple got set up, and they became the wind beneath each other's wings. We're stretching our map today to catch up with this Canadian duo in Qatar. Kelsey and Taylor, welcome to the Canadian Love Map.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Nancy. It's great to be here.
We have traveled all the way from Canada to Qatar for this interview. Okay, I haven't. Thank goodness for the virtual travel we're able to do these days. Before we get to why you're there in Qatar, I'd like you to both go back and tell us that once upon a time version of your relationship, and we'll do he said, she said. Okay, how did this all start? And who would like to start?
Right. I think I want to start us off with this one. So we're talking way back to the beginning. All right. So I was living in Toronto. I had just finished my master's degree and I had been single for about 3 years. And I'd had a long-term boyfriend before that. And it was one of those things I thought that when I was ready to meet somebody, it would just happen when I was ready. And the more I dated and I wasn't very good at it. And it was like, and then after 3 years, to be honest, Nancy, I just felt sad. I was like, what's wrong with me? I can't meet somebody I connect with. It just got very disheartening. And at the time it was my cousin was getting married, and my cousins are twins. So the one twin who was getting married, she married a guy named Jeff. We're allowed to share names, right?
Yeah, first names is good.
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
You don't have to ask me for permission.
Okay. Yeah. His brother. So my cousin married this guy, Jeff, and after the wedding, I went out with her twin, my other cousin, to debrief the wedding. And suffice to say, we had some wine. It was half price wine night that night. And towards a couple hours in, it came out, I was just saying, it's like, I can't meet somebody. It sucks. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me. And I was like, I just want to meet somebody I can connect with, a quality person, all this. And she's like, actually at the wedding, Jeff's older brother broke up with his girlfriend, and it was actually quite scandalous. But anyway, he's single. His name is T-Bone. You want me to connect you? I said, I'm sorry, you want to hook me up with a person named T-Bone after I've just shared my heart that I'm lonely and I want to meet somebody nice? So I was like, no way, absolutely not. And she also said, oh yeah, he's a few years older. I was 25 at the time. She's like, he's in his 30s. So I'm like, you want to hook me up with an old man named T-Bone? No, thank you.
Who just ripped out the heart of some old girlfriend at a wedding.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay. So tough sell, right? I'm like, no, thank you. But she really talked him up, and she's like, you know what? No, like, he's really great. T-Bone is a nickname from his dad. His dad is a fire chief. Like, they're a really nice family. He's lovely. And I was sad enough and drunk enough. I was like, I guess give him my number. Taylor texted me the next day, and that is what started everything. And within a couple of months after that, I knew I was hooked. I knew he was it.
Okay, T-Bone.
Yeah, so that's the version that Kelsey likes to tell. But usually she doesn't put in the part that T-Bone was a nickname I've had since I was a baby, and it's not a frat house nickname because it's one of those nicknames that I do feel the need to justify. So yes. I'm glad that she did that for me ahead of time. But my version is a little shorter. And it's what I tell people is that we were set up. And I think that's rare now. When I think of people who are set up together, I think of 200 years ago in a small town, you were set up by somebody in the next town, and it just doesn't seem like something happens in modern time. But we were set up, and Kelsey described some of her trepidation of actually accepting like a setup. And the person that she described is somebody who I think very highly of. And I think that was the real determining factor, is that it came from somebody who I think is a very quality human being. And I did ask for a picture first. Well, I'll admit to that before I said, is it okay to give you my number? Well, I want to see what she looks like.
That probably makes you like 95% of the people out there in dating world.
Yeah, I think that's standard in, it was maybe mere months after we met that Tinder became such a huge thing. And that's blown up the dating world, and everything is based on that profile picture. And we missed that narrowly, but I guess in a way that obviously the picture did help. But it was the same. And interestingly, I think that one of our first interactions, I had just, as Kelsey said, I broke up with somebody after my brother. It wasn't at my brother's wedding, for clarity.
Oh, good.
It was afterward. And it was a long time coming, and it was time. But, after a drama-filled relationship, that's obviously not what I wanted. And in one of our first interactions, Kelsey had noted, it might have even been the first time I texted her, she said, "I can't talk right now. My dog just ate a whole bottle of pills and I don't know what's going on. And I'll talk to you later." And I said, "Oh boy, I found another one that just loves the drama." And it's proven to be that's absolutely not the case. But that first interaction, I reconsidered.
I almost scared him away.
Yeah, definitely.
That's funny. Fortunately, that was an aberration, right?
Exactly. Well, and to be fair, going into this, because I had mentioned I had kind of reached the end of my rope, and I just thought, whoever I meet next, I'm going to be 100% myself. No, I'm not even going to try to be anything other than exactly who I am. I had just gotten a puppy a few months before, the original love of my life, Russo, and he had eaten a whole bottle of pills. And when I saw his text, I was like, my dog just tried to kill himself. I can't talk right now. I'll talk to you later. But hey, I didn't scare him off, and I was me. So I think it bodes well.
I think so too. I'm curious to know about your first date.
I feel like you've been prepped here. So let me start this one.
Okay.
Because I know you're going to come over the top with a haymaker after I describe
No, it's just Nancy. You're getting all of our heavy hitters off the bat here.
This is not I would say not a storybook first date.
Bring it on.
So Kels mentioned that my brother married her cousin, and so they went up right from their wedding. They went on their honeymoon 3 weeks or 4 or whatever it was, and we had texted while they were away, and we had planned to meet up the night that they were arriving, and I had also promised them that I would pick them up from Pearson, from the airport in Toronto. And so our first date was I drove to the airport with Kelsey, and we picked up my brother and his new wife, Kelsey's cousin, from the airport, but didn't tell them that we were interested in each other. We weren't definitely seeing each other at that point. We had just met in person, but our first date was hanging out at the airport and then watching the eyes bulge of the newlyweds as they walked out of the terminal. And what are these two doing together? Their worlds collided,
Oh, I love it.
I still remember that.
It's the stuff of a sitcom, really.
Sitcom, not storybook. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think the second part of the date is really where the magic happens. So initially off the bat, we get to the airport a bit early, and Taylor's like, "Oh, I'll just find us a nice side street that we can wait until their plane gets in." And he starts driving into like this dark parking lot. I'm like, there's a good chance I'm just going to get murdered here. Okay. Obviously turned out okay. So after we picked up his brother and my cousin, we dropped them off. And the date part of it, really the dinner part, Taylor cooked. He's an amazing, amazing chef. And so he's like, "I'll cook you dinner, come to my place." Fantastic. So it was a really lovely evening. And, I was having a glass of wine, and Taylor's cooking in the kitchen, and in walks who I learned to be Taylor's roommate at the time. And this guy is a character who we love dearly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But essentially from my perspective at the time, this stranger walks in to my first date with Taylor, takes off his pants, cracks a beer,
Great.
and pulls up a chair. And I'm sitting there thinking, I don't know what to do with myself. This is really, really weird. Taylor pretends like nothing is off and they're just chatting. And I remember thinking, damn, I really like this guy. And now I can obviously never see him again.
His name's T-Bone. He's the world's weirdest date. And so from my point of view, that interaction was, my roommate, I lived with a couple of dudes at the time. And, my roommate comes home, interrupts a date that was going very well and won't leave. But of course, my seething internal rage can't come out. I want to yell at this guy to get out of here. What are you doing? Read the room. But if I do that, that's a nightmare on a first date. So I can't. So I'm trying to play it cool. It was
Oh,
difficult.
that's funny. I can sense the inner turmoil from here, Taylor.
Yeah.
That's crazy. This podcast is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers, Canada's largest family-owned jewelry store. They are proud to be putting love on the map. And the staff at Charm Diamond Centers are thrilled to be a part of your love story too. So visit charmdiamondcenters.com or one of your local stores. Love starts here. Okay, so where did it go from there? How did the relationship blossom?
I'll let Taylor take this one first.
Okay. So Kelsey is her own person all the time. So she noted before that, she was making an effort to be herself, but I don't know that I've never known her any other way. So I think just that's who she is. I think she's just who she is all the time. She's, the purest heart that I've ever met. And it was special to meet somebody that, again, just so different from what I expected from anybody that I'd met. I had no grounds to meet somebody like Kelsey. And then I did, and then she wanted to spend time with me. And it was so fantastic that I got to, I just felt special it's one of those, I just felt lucky to get to be around her and for her to be interested in me. And so I'm really trying my best not to screw it up, and I'm really just so into her. And Kelsey is somebody who, how should we say, likes to schedule her time. Like all the time, yeah. So,
she's organized, highly organized, isn't she?
She's extremely organized, and that's just not just professionally, personally. She'll, organize time to do research. She'll organize, a coffee break, that kind of stuff. Anyway, so we had seen each other, and I said, "Well, when can I see you again?" This was first couple of months early, and she goes, "Well," and she pulls out her calendar as she does. She goes, I can see you in 2 Thursdays. And I'm thinking, well, okay, she clearly doesn't like me that much. I'm not a priority in 2 Thursdays. She's blowing me off is what I'm thinking.
Yep.
I found out later that her mom, my now mother-in-law, who's wonderful, gave her a bit of a talking to in the vein of, if you like this guy, 2 Thursdays won't cut it. And he'll find somebody who can see him the next Thursday kind of talk. And we still talk about this pretty often, and I'm very thankful for her as well.
Yeah, that's very true. I was so nonchalant about it, and my mom was so excited that I finally met this guy I liked. When are you seeing him next? I said, about 2 weeks from now. What, he can't see you before that? No, he asked when. I said 2 Thursdays. I'm busy. That's when I have time. And she basically is like, Kelsey, finally met somebody you like. Prioritize them. Make them understand that you like them. All this, like a very needed talk that just jerked me right out of my arguably overly scheduled life.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Oh my gosh, I see your mom calling a timeout on the play.
Basically.
Yes.
Calling you over to the sideline and going, okay, Kelsey, here's what you need to know. Let's talk strategy. That's
exactly.
So great. And so how did the proposal happen?
Oh, another great one. Can I? No.
Because,
they're going to fight about this one.
But I think it's a better story if the planning part is known first.
Okay, fine. I think it's better the other way, but you know what? Since it was his proposal, go ahead.
Well, so we were doing a Euro trip together. It was my first time to Europe, and Kelsey was very well traveled and sort of drug me on my first Europe trip, and it was fantastic. And it was time, and I decided this is when I want to propose. And I was carrying a ring with me the whole time. In fact, we've just mentioned Kelsey's mom. They're very close, and I didn't ask/advise her parents that I was going to propose until the morning that we left, because I was pretty confident that there would be no secret that would be kept. If I gave them some lead time, the surprise would be ruined. So
it would be leaked.
I rolled the dice that they would be okay with it on the morning of, and they were, thankfully. But I'm carrying this ring with me, and I didn't have a specific picture in mind, but I sort of said, I just want it to feel right the time that I did it. And we went to Scotland first, and that's Kelsey's favorite country, or one of her favorite countries. And there's something I didn't find the right moment. And then we went to Paris, and again, didn't find the right moment. And then we went to this island in the south of France that I'll let Kelsey pronounce, because I speak terrible Canadian French and she speaks beautiful Parisian French.
Oh, not yet. What was the island?
I'll let Kelsey try to remember the name of the island that we got engaged on.
I do know it. Yeah, Porquerolles.
That's better.
Oh, very nice.
And so we had a beautiful morning. We were exploring this sort of rocky shoreline on this little island, and we were alone in this cove. And I thought, no, this is the time. I'm going to do it. And so I was wearing. We were on the beach. I was wearing shorts, and my shorts had this little safety pocket inside the pocket. So I take the ring out for the first time. I'm ready to do it, and I put it in the little safety pocket until the perfect time, And we're sitting on this beach towel, and the tide's coming in. So we're doing that trick where you pull back your towel every 10 minutes because the tide's coming and touching your toes, that kind of thing. And one of the times we do that, and I think this is when Kelsey can take over.
Okay.
Yes. So we're sitting on these towels. We move back a couple times, but we're collecting sea glass, right? And just like looking at all the different rocks. And I see a ring, and I pick it up, and I'm like, where do you think this came from? This is so beautiful. It had Taylor's face was just white horror. Just totally, just absolute. He had no idea it had fallen out.
Well, I had the plan, the down on one knee, and I've been rehearsing in my head for weeks now.
So it had fallen out, but Taylor, he recovered very quickly and launched into the most beautiful proposal. And it was very us, and it was just one of my favorite memories ever in my life. It was wonderful.
So as Kelsey likes to say,
oh, I proposed to myself. Yeah.
Yes.
So I want to say you made a huge transition professionally, Kelsey, and you've told me in our prep for this interview that he was enormously responsible for that because of the way he supported you.
Absolutely. So yeah, as you know, Nancy, like I run my educational consulting firm, and I can say with absolute certainty it would not exist if it weren't for Taylor. When we met, I was working at the Ministry of Education. It was my first job out of grad school. I was so excited at first, it's in policy and this is going to be great. And very quickly I learned, bureaucracy and government is not for me. I was not happy there. I worked with amazing people, but it just was not a fit. And I was really unhappy. And everyone I talked to went from being like, oh, you'll get used to it. Don't worry. I had a lot of people, especially older adults, who just kind of laughed, being like, welcome to the working world. Nobody likes to get used to it, put your head down.
Mm-hmm.
And, and it was a quote unquote good job. This was the jackpot. And anyway, he was the only person. He's like, if you're not happy, leave. He's so big on creating life, irrespective of what is the norm or what is socially expected. And I had never really had that in my life. It was just so inspiring. I had never met anybody who was I go back to the word unapologetic, because I think it's something that, it's funny, Taylor's saying that he's only ever known me to be my authentic self, which I love, but I think he really helped me feel confident with doing that, with really sharing and not, second guessing or things like that, just really settling into myself. And he was so matter of fact about, he's basically like, you're really smart, you're really talented and passionate, a lot of stuff. Like, you'll make money. Like, why tie yourself to this job? Like, this is just starting. And so I lasted about a year and a half at the government, and I ended up giving my notice, much to my shock and the shock of everybody I know. But I felt so good doing it. Everyone I knew thought it was crazy. Like, oh my gosh, my poor parents, they're so supportive and the best. They'd invested so much in my education. And here I am throwing away my first very good job. But, obviously in hindsight, it was one of the best decisions of my entire life. And here we are now sitting on the beach in a tropical paradise, just loving life. So it's, I'm just forever grateful.
So, Kelsey, just tell us quickly what you decided to do, because I think I'm guessing that part of the reason he was so supportive is that Taylor could see that you had, as you said, passion, but you also transitioned to a job that was totally built on purpose, right?
Yeah, and that was something also that, even leading up to before I gave notice at my job, and again, Taylor was so instrumental with like helping brainstorm, well, how can we, find some joy while you're strategizing this exit? And I'd always tutored. I love tutoring. I'd always been really good at school, and I loved helping other students feel the same. So I just kind of put up an ad like on a website, just to tutor. And within a few weeks, I had more, like I was working nights and weekends, and I loved it. And I had like within a month, I had a wait list. And it was just, I didn't really know what was happening, but I knew it was something special. I knew I loved it. Mm-hmm. I was so much happier doing that work, working directly with students and parents. Like, it just set my soul on fire.
Yeah.
And that, combined with a certain somebody's support here, it made it make sense to walk away from, the ostensibly, the ostensible path that I should have gone down.
I love what I heard you say before, is that you love making students into learners. Does that capture it well?
100%. That absolutely captures it. I think every person deserves to understand themselves as a learner. And I think it's shocking. And I think it's a tragedy how many people graduate from high school or from college and never experience that. They're always students, and they never really tap into what they're truly capable of as learners. And we're all wired to learn. We're innate learners, mm-hmm. But it's just been so bogged down by the student stuff, by just get it done, get the grades. Maybe you need a math tutor. It's not special as it should mm-hmm. be.
Well, no wonder that sets your soul on fire, as you say. Now, you mentioned you're both in Qatar. And so exciting for you to explore that whole new world together.
That is the thing I'm most excited about. Everything is brand new. And I think probably every person on relationships would say this, like, doing new things together is like a great way to bond, right? Like, it's just so fun. It's exciting. And basically every time we leave the house, there's like just seeing new things and seeing everything is brand new. So it's definitely an adventure, and we definitely want to travel and really make the most of the time that we're here, for sure.
I feel like this is your reward, both of you, for being willing to take chances and to support each other in the way you have. I think it's phenomenal.
Yes.
And I want to know what you love most about each other.
Oh, Kelsey is actually, she's her own person more than anybody that I've ever met. She's got the biggest heart of anybody I've ever met. She's the most, honorable person. And I had met people before that liked me, that loved me. But I'm with Kelsey. I'm confident that, like, we're talking about like the person that she will help me become. It's that with Kelsey, I become a better person rather than just having somebody that never challenges or motivates you to ever change from the person you are. And that's so special and something I frankly need. And I love so much that you have it.
That's beautiful. Kelsey?
That is beautiful. That's hard to follow. His just sense of duty and the integrity that in which he operates, like every aspect of his life, personal, professional, social, everything, is second to none. And I find that so amazing. And also, I don't know the best way to say this. I think it's that before I met Taylor, I didn't know you could be loved like this deeply. I had never thought that was possible. And it's something that I think about pretty often and that I'm so grateful for. Like the depth of that love, it's always there no matter what, even when we're fighting, even when we were in that quarantine, like in the same room for a year. Yeah, he loves me unconditionally, and it's the best feeling in the world.
These are all qualities you would expect from somebody whose nickname is T-Bone.
Right.
And you know what? That takes us out, because how do we follow that? Oh, thank you both so much. That was just beautiful. And I'm just so excited for the two of you. And you can celebrate, being together, but also living in this exciting new place.
Thank you so much, Nancy. That means a lot. Definitely appreciated. And thank you so much for having us on your show. This was wonderful.
Thanks so much for listening to the Canadian Love Map. If you love us, please subscribe and share. We'll be back next week with another love story to add to the map. This podcast is presented and made possible by Charm Diamond Centers. It's hosted by me, Nancy Regan, and is produced and distributed by Podstarter.